All right, YouTube, we're rocking and rolling.
And here we go.
It's the Benjamin Dixon Show.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is
not merely peace in our time, but peace in all time.
I have no fear whatsoever of anybody or anything.
Did you think no one was watching?
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
your mission.
Before we go where no man has gone before. To reclaim the American dream.
To be given the right of human beings to be afforded equal rights and equal opportunities. By any means.
It's the Benjamin Dixon Show. If you're hearing his voice, you're hearing the voice of reason.
You've certainly come to the right place.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I am your host, Benjamin Dixon. It is Wednesday. I almost said July. We are long gone out of July. This is August 5th, 2015. We want to thank you for joining us this morning. There's a lot in the news happening, a lot of things coming up, a lot of things that I have to dissect. So not much time for formalities, but I am glad that you're here with us. You could have been anywhere in the world today. So where do I start? You have the two crazies in Mississippi who decided to shoot up a camp in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, ostensibly because they believed it was a part of the Jade Helm takeover. You have the Senate attempting and failing to defund Planned Parenthood yet again. Because of the videos that came out from showing, anyway, we'll get to that. Highly edited videos dealing with the sale and the alleged profit of fetal tissue. Then you have a interesting study done on Donald Trump supporters that shows how dedicated they are and what they really believe about Donald Trump. You have that, and then we have so many things. I don't know. I honestly don't know where to start because I think the underlying theme of everything today is dealing with extremists and crazies, right? So even starting with the debate that's coming up on tomorrow, they've decided the final 10 that would be a part of the Fox News debate. The interesting thing about it is that in a lot of ways, Fox News is in an unprecedented way, Fox News is influencing the national election. They are influencing the GOP nomination process because they have put a cutoff that is not statistically significant. If you look at the difference between the number 10 and the number 11 spot, John Kasich and Rick Perry of former governor of Texas, there's no statistical difference between the two of those candidates. So there's really no legitimate reason to have John Kasich versus Rick Perry. However, Fox News has arbitrarily made this decision, ostensibly using polls, but the polls have shown that there's no statistical difference between the two. And so now you have you basically have the commencement that I don't know who said this, so I can't give the proper credit, but Fox News is operating almost like the first primary, and you have 10 candidates that are on the main stage, and you have the rest of the candidates as MSNBC incessantly reminds us. I mean, every single show says this catchphrase. You have the rest of the candidates sitting at the kiddie table. Okay, MSNBC. I'm trying to avoid doing segments bashing MSNBC because really that's the only thing that we have on national coverage on cable TV. I mean, I guess we can get a satellite and get a hold of Democracy Now. So I try not to bash MSNBC so badly, but come on. Let's get a different talking point. You can't say the same thing over and over and over again and we not realize that, okay, you guys are just, we get the picture. We understand. You think that this is a kiddie table, but every single host doesn't have to say that. So please find something new. Put something new in your vernacular with regard to the 6/7 candidates that are not going to be at the debate on tomorrow. So, but essentially, the debate Fox News is facilitating almost the first primary, because now you have the national presentation of 10 candidates and counting out the other 6. So on the debate stage on tomorrow night, which I think I'm trying to decide whether I'll do a live reaction video or whether I'll just watch it and then deal with it on Friday morning. But on the stage, front and center, you have Donald Trump. Then you have Jeb Bush, who's in the number 2 spot. You have Scott Walker, Mike Huckabee, Ben Carson, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, Rand Paul, Chris Christie, and cutting it off with John Kasich. In the 11th spot, you have Rick Perry, who seems to be running a much stronger campaign. He seems to be much more coherent this time around. He seems to be less drunk. He seems to be very cogent, but unfortunately, he didn't make the cutoff. The problem is that there's way too many people in the Republican primary right now, and this is why it's almost a meaningful exercise to not have a debate so early on. We're so far away from the first primaries that it's almost irrelevant, but it's serving as fodder for everyone in the political spectrum. It's serving for ratings for Fox News. Fox News is going to have some of the highest ratings on tomorrow night that they've ever had. The highest rated show in this year for Fox News. So that's what it's facilitating. It's not really going to do anything beneficial for the conversation, because quite frankly, between now and the beginning of the primaries, somebody who's at the bottom could come and be at the top. But what it's going to do is really put Donald Trump in the spotlight, in the limelight, and even more so than he already is he's going to have a target on his back, and we're going to see exactly how he handles it. Now, it can go one of two ways for Donald Trump. He could either be the most outstanding, he can be himself and no one can touch him, which would be, in a sense, outstanding, but then at the same time, he could crash and burn, because if he doesn't know the topics, if he doesn't know the information, and he can't present himself as a viable candidate, which he's not, but we're just saying if he this is his chance to present himself as a viable candidate. And with regard to Donald Trump, I was reading a story in Bloomberg, and it was dealing with a group that were a focus group that they held of Donald Trump supporters, and they asked some key questions to ascertain the feelings, why they are supporting him. And the focus group was 6 women, 6 men, some 5 that were strongly identified with the Tea Party. The rest were sympathetic to the Tea Party. You had, they came from all different economic strata. Some of them were wealthy, some of them were poor, some of them were educated, some were not educated. But the overwhelming majority of them, actually all of them, none of them fell into the category, the economic strata of Donald Trump. Obviously, all of them were working class, average Americans. But one of the things that stood out the most to me about that study, that focus group study, was that they identify themselves with Donald Trump. They see Donald Trump as one of them. And that, to me, set off an alarm. And in a sense, it seemed crazy, but in hindsight, maybe it makes sense. They identify with Donald Trump and they see him as one of them. And here's the thing: they have nothing in common. They have their economic background is not in common. Their education, nothing in common. Where they come from, nothing in common. Some of their moral values, nothing in common. The only thing they have in common with Donald Trump, and when I thought about it, I said, okay, now this makes sense. The only thing they have in common with Donald Trump is their visceral anger towards where America is right now. They all believe that America is in a dire strait. They feel like America is falling apart. They feel like America is going to hell in a handbasket, and they feel like it's all Obama's fault, or they feel like it's all of the Washington elite's fault. And that's what they identify. They feel like immigration is out of control. Illegal immigration is out of control. They feel like they are under attack. They have all of these grievances with America. And so they don't identify with Donald Trump or anything else, but they identify with him on his anger. And I'd argue that they even identify with him on his brashness, the way that he's presenting himself. Now, I can't dismiss all of that as complete folly. part of me wants to laugh at them because here is this billionaire who would no more sit in a room with you and have dinner with you than he would with me, but you see him as one of your own. There's a commonality, there's a thread throughout the Republican Party that is pervasive, that is that just will not go away, and that is the thread of anger and bitterness. That is what the Republican Party has capitalized on over the last, I would say at a minimum since 1992, since Bill Clinton. Prior to that, they were in power, so they weren't as bitter and cantankerous. But since Bill Clinton, they have capitalized on the politics of anger. Most assuredly since Barack Obama, since 2008, they have capitalized on the politics of anger, bitterness, and hatred. And now they have a candidate who not only actually, he has nothing in common with them. No moral. Only thing they have in common is the fact that he is willing to openly express that anger, whether he believes it or not. Right. So if you listen closely to Donald Trump, you realize that a lot of the things that he's saying just absolutely don't line up with the Republican credo. It doesn't. He's for protectionism. He's been talking about protectionism, economic protectionism for the last 30 years. That is not a Republican, a part of the Republican ideology whatsoever. So he doesn't line up with them morally. He's not a devout Christian in any measure. In some sense, he alluded to the fact that he doesn't have to ask for forgiveness. I don't have that quote exactly. I'm just kind of paraphrasing. So if I got that one wrong, charge it to my head. But he's clearly not a right-wing evangelical Christian type of politician. So they have nothing in common except for their anger. And that's the reason they identify him with him. And so this is really kind of the Republican Party finally giving birth to the stupidity and the cantankerousness, their bitterness that they have been espousing towards President Obama for the last 8 years. This is really, to use a phrase from Jeremiah Wright, that the chickens are coming home to roost. They have to now live with this candidate who's surging in the polls, who's leading Jeb Bush, the guy who would be ordained to be crowned to be the nominee. They have to live now with the creation of the fruits of their labor. For the last 8 years, they've done nothing but engage in conspiracy theories. They've done nothing but engage in thinly veiled racism. They've engaged in dog whistle politics. They've engaged in using any and every method possible to stir up the animus in their base, to get their base, not only to get their base to the polls, but to get their base to watch their news broadcast. So it's fitting that on this first debate, you have Donald Trump and you have Fox News, hand in hand, just strolling down the aisle together, because they deserve each other. They deserve each other. The stupidity and the ignorance that just exudes from Fox News is perfect for Donald Trump, because he is a buffoon. Now, I think he's a smart buffoon. I think some of his presentation is simply for show. I think some of that is just him being bombastic because he knows that that's what sells, right? But still, his presentation is that of a fool. And so I think he and Fox News deserve each other. And I think it's to the detriment of the Republican Party, but it remains to be seen. But another facet of this world, I'm so fascinated by this world that the Republicans live in. They really live in this parallel universe of conspiracy theories. They really genuinely believe that that President Obama has taken their guns when gun sales are higher than ever before, right? They genuinely believe that the economy is going down when the stock market and every metric of economic performance, we have improved dramatically since 2009. But yet and still, they believe that the economy is in disarray and we need someone to come and save our economy. They believe that we're losing on foreign policy when in every way imaginable, with the exception of crushing ISIS, we are devastating on the foreign policy front, but nothing. And I'll deal with the Iranian nuke deal in a few minutes, because I think that's right in line with some of their conspiracy theories, but nothing that is a statistical positive factor in measuring the performance of the United States is good enough for them, they feel like the end of the world has come. And in that regard, they feel like Donald Trump is 25% feels like Donald Trump is the savior to take them out of this. And you know what? It just makes it, they are getting what they deserve. If you can't go half crazy with certain people, let me tell you, let me make this clear. Once you realize someone is crazy, you can't play with them. You have to walk away from them. And I'm just talking on a one-on-one relationship thing right here now. But Fox News has been courting the crazy base of the Republican Party for 8 years. Fox News has given birth to all of the mainstream, and I use the word mainstream loosely, with mainstream YouTubers who are now fully engaged in propaganda and conspiracy theories, the Alex Jones of the world. Fox News paved the way for him to be mainstream, because Fox News began to entertain that level of conspiracy, that level of ignorance, that level of propaganda on a regular basis. And they played around with the crazy folks too long, and now the crazies are running the party. That's what we're dealing with. The crazy people are running the Republican Party, and you know what? It's hard to tell the difference between the conservative base and the conservative establishment, because they are so intertwined now. In Washington, D.C., you have crazies running in that party, running that party. You know, as much as they want the face of the party to be the John Boehners, and they want the face of their party to be the Mitch McConnells, the truth of the matter is, the truth of the matter is, the face of the party really are those crazy Tea Party congressmen who are always calling up a vote to repeal Obamacare. And so the problem is that once you engage in this level of craziness for so long, you can't back up and say, oh, well, we're not going to go that far. Oh, we're not really that crazy. We don't believe every conspiracy theory. Which brings me to the Jade Helm. I've never dealt with Jade Helm on this show because, one, it is a level of idiocy that I just don't feel like dealing with. Right? There's a certain level of conspiracy theory that is so ridiculous that I just ignore. And when it comes across my news feed, I'm like, I just kind of completely ignore. So Jade Helm 15 is the exercise by the U.S. military, the Department of Defense. They're running exercises here in the United States with our special forces, and they are doing it in urban environments, and not just urban environments, but they're doing it in locations that they need to do training. You know, it's training exercises, but you have an entire contingency online. And I don't want you to belittle the power of online voices. I mean, some online voices rival that of Fox News and MSNBC, clearly. Right. So you have this entire machine online that is fueling the mania, the psychosis of the federal government taking over the states. Now, here's why I never dealt with Jade Helm 15, the Jade Helm, or whatever the official title is. I don't care. The reason is because how ignorant do you have to be to not realize that the federal government has no need to take over something that it already owns? That it is already in control of, that it already it's extracting wealth, it's already taking taxes, it's already doing everything that it needs to do. We fought an entire war for states that were trying to separate itself from the federal government. What part of your brain is malfunctioning for you to believe that the federal government actually has to put troops on the ground in Texas to take over Texas? Yet there's an entire group, and I don't know that there are any left-wing progressive people who believe this, because I don't put ignorance is not neither side has a monopoly on ignorance. We do have some ignorance on the left, but nothing that compares to the level of insanity that you find on the right. I mean, they are genuinely up in arms about this, so much so that on yesterday there was a shooting near Hattiesburg, Mississippi, where they were engaging in Jade Helm exercises. Camp Shelby. I was trying to remember the name of the camp. Camp Shelby. I know the Hattiesburg area pretty well. And so two gentlemen did a drive-by shooting on U.S. military, on our military, the same people that they say they swear that they support. I'm kind of at a loss for words. How do they engage? They are either the most brilliant people in the world, in that they can hold a cognitive dissonance in their brain where they, in one breath, they support the military and God bless America, and anyone who says anything bad about the military, they are, you're not a patriot and you hate America. In one breath, they could say that. In the next breath, they can say the military is taking over their backyard and that it's so bad that we need to take up arms. You know, it's so bad that everybody's in on the conspiracy and we need to take up arms and defeat and push back the imperialistic military of Obama. How do you handle those two things in your brain at one time without your head exploding? I honestly don't know. So they either are the most brilliant people we've ever seen to the point of insanity, or they are the most ignorant people that we have ever met. And we have been allowing them to have a voice. And Fox News, people like Fox News and conservative outlets, right-wing leaning conservative outlets, conspiracy theorists like InfoWars, they have just been fueling this craziness, fueling it. And now to the point where people are taking out their weapons and shooting at our military forces because they believe the military is taking over a state that is already a part of the Union. This, my friends, is the level of idiocy that is breeded when you play to the lowest common denominator in your base. When you try to constantly stoke the fears, saying that President Obama is not a U.S. citizen, he's a Kenyan-born Muslim terrorist, communist who's trying to take over, who's now saying that, you start entertaining those types of ideas and concepts, then you will invite and you will find all of the crazy people that you need to vote for you. And it would turn out that when you're ready to back away, Fox News is now laughing at the people who, just like me, I'm laughing at the Jade Helm conspiracy theorists. Fox News is laughing at them. And now all of their crazy base is turning on them, saying, oh, Fox News has now been bought out by the propaganda machine. Fox News is a part of the conspiracy. You cannot go halfway with crazy people. You cannot entertain someone who is crazy just to get what you want out of them, because they will turn batshit crazy on you because you're not willing to go the distance. Fox News will never go the distance with these propaganda, with these conspiracy theories, but they have stoked the fears, the animus, the anger, the agitation, the bitterness, the latent racism, everything that's necessary to drum up the support of the craziest people in their base. And now the craziest people in their base are shooting at U.S. military officials because they feel like the U.S. military is getting ready to take over U.S. territory. And that, my friends, is the world that we live in right now. Those people represent a good portion of the conservative ideology, and we have been playing around with it. We have been allowing it to fester. We've been allowing it to grow, and now it's biting them in the ass with a candidate like Donald Trump, who is every bit willing to go the distance with the craziness. Donald Trump will go full stupid. He has no reserve, and maybe we'll see tomorrow. Maybe he'll turn the corner. But if he turns the corner and backtracks and is not the crazy crazy candidate that they feel that they could identify with, then they will turn on him too. Because, like I've been saying this whole segment, you cannot go halfway with crazy people because they will turn on you. And this is the nature of the modern Republican Party. All right, folks, when I come back, I'm going to deal with Planned Parenthood. I'm going to deal with the Iranian nuke deal and some other stuff. I'll take your calls, 857-600-0518. This is the Benjamin Dixon Show. We'll be back right after this.
When you're ready to lose weight, why count, track, and worry over every meal? Jenny Craig makes it simple. Just walk into a neighborhood Jenny Craig center or give us a call. You'll meet your dedicated personal consultant who helps you reach your goals. Together, you'll pick out delicious Jenny Craig foods that you'll love and design a menu that fits your life. And the best part is that you can get started losing weight right away. Don't wait any longer to take advantage of our best offer ever. Call 1-800-JENNY20 or visit jennycraig.com.
This is the sound of salmonella gyrating on your undercooked chicken. And it looks like Mom might be taking it out a little early. Don't let salmonella get funky with your chicken. On average, 1 in 6 Americans will get a foodborne illness this year. So use a thermometer to cook each type of meat to the right temperature. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov. Brought to you by the USDA, HHS, and the Ad Council.
On the next episode of Recipes for Disaster.
I'm making beef sliders for my friend Sandy. Nana taught me to always pull meat off the grill early so it's extra juicy.
Use a food thermometer to ensure ground beef is 160 degrees or basic. Sandy didn't think twice.
Republicans threatened to shut down the government if Planned Parenthood wasn't defunded. And I heard my friend from Washington, Patty Murray, say they were serious. Going to shut down the government? To deny health care to 2.7 million women and men every year?
I want to be a new pair of blue jeans. When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer. Warm fleece on a cool day. I want to be a bike that races around the country. I want to be a bench on a forest trail. When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Benjamin Dixon Show. If you're hearing his voice, you're hearing the voice of reason.
Welcome back. All right. So part of this crazy regime. Now, like I said, one thing I do, this is not a false equivalency that I'm engaging in right now, but I do know that there are some crazy people on the left. There are some people who are willing to, there's a segment of our population. Let's go here. There's just a segment of our population that's willing to believe any conspiracy. Now, I don't think that segment of our population is necessarily in one political ideology. Let me say that again. I don't think that one political ideology has a monopoly on craziness, on crazy people. You have some that lean to the left, you have some that lean to the right. I do firmly believe that there are way more crazies on the right just because of the way that they have engaged and they have devolved. I mean, we have devolved from on the Republican side, on the conservative side of American politics. We have devolved from the intellectuals types like William F. Buckley and Barry Goldwater down to the Donald Trumps. And that does not happen overnight. That's after years of engaging in race baiting politics, race, and yeah, I'm throwing race bait. They're the ones who are the race baiters, right? They're the ones who are playing to the lowest common denominator in the base. It's years of stoking fears of communists, the Red Scare. You know, there are communists underneath every pillow, you know, and behind every corner there's a communist. And now it's the Muslim scare. There's, oh, he's a Muslim, and everyone who's a Muslim is a terrorist. And then, you know, once you play to that lowest common denominator for years, for decades, then you devolve into what the Republican Party has become now. And because of that, I think crazies have found their home in the Republican Party. We still have a couple of doofuses on the liberal side, but you know what? They don't have voice, and that's a good thing. Radicalization, people who are extremists, you know, they have every right to be here in America. They just should not be in power. And that's the difference between Republicans, modern conservatism. They have allowed extremists and crazies to get in power in their party because they have used that methodology for the last 30 and 40 years just to maintain a hold on any power. Conservatism is a dying ideology. Conservatism is trying to preserve the status quo in America, which is controlled by white Christian men. Bill O'Reilly, America's controlled by
America is run by white Christian men.
America is no longer a white Christian nation, male nation. It is a pluralistic society. We have every race, we have every ideology, we have every belief, every religion, we have genders, and we have every. It is no longer locked into the monopoly of white Christian men. But conservatism is hell bent on maintaining that power structure. And the only way that they have not died yet, their ideology has not died out. The only way they have maintained any grasp on power has been by playing to the lowest common denominator in their base. And that is racism, and that is conspiracy theories. So much so that when these people are presented the truth, they reject it as a lie, which shifts me over to the Planned Parenthood fiasco. Video that came out from the Center for Medical Progress, right, has such a positive name, right? Center for Medical Progress. Video came out. We all saw the video. I didn't talk about it because, yet again, it's the level of stupidity that is going to always be embraced by a certain group. And once you present them with the truth, it is always rejected. But the Center for Medical Progress covertly recorded conversations with people with leaders from Planned Parenthood discussing the trafficking, essentially the trafficking of fetal tissue that is derived from abortions. The video was highly edited. Right? When you watch the video in full, it does not say the same thing that the edited versions say. The edited versions make it seem as though that Planned Parenthood is actively engaging in the trafficking of human fetal tissue for profit. When you watch the video in full, you realize they're talking about reimbursement. They're talking about charging the lowest price possible so that they can just cover their cost, not making a profit. This is something that they do, but this is not something that they make a profit off of. And when I say this is something that they do, this is something that has been done for since 1930s. We have used another reason I don't talk about it is because this is not an area of my expertise, right? I don't like to talk about things that I'm not an expert in. I'm an expert in unpacking the propaganda of the Republican Party, right? So this is something that scientific research has been based on and has used for generations, for decades. So this is not something that is illegal in the United States, but doing it for profit is illegal. And so they edited the videos to make it look as though they were doing it for profit. When you watch the video in full, you realize, no, they aren't doing it for profit. But that part of the conversation is completely irrelevant to people who want to believe, who have a vested interest in believing that Planned Parenthood is the devil and they're out there killing babies for profit. Now, as extreme as that sentence sounded, there are a legion of people running around America right now decrying Planned Parenthood and the Obama administration because we are sending funds to Planned Parenthood so that they can abort babies and traffic the fetal tissue for profit. This is what they genuinely believe. But when you present them with the factual evidence that this is not the case, they completely reject it and say, no, that's not true. You've been propagandized. You've been fooled by don't let the machine fool you. The machine has fooled you. And I don't like even engaging in those type of conversations because the rabbit hole never ends. Once you fall down that rabbit hole, for them, it never ends. No matter what evidence you present to them, they never can come out to the surface. That's because they don't want to. They have a vested interest. They have an emotional investment in these conspiracy theories. They have an emotional investment in buying into things that are going to make them angry and bitter and ready to fight and ready to go to war. That's what they get off on. And so with the Planned Parenthood debate, it's not even really a debate, right? But it reached all the way to the Senate. And the reason I'm bringing this up, the only reason I'm bringing this up is because I want you to watch the timing. The timing of this exercise coincided with the beginning of the 2016 election season. We have a debate coming up on Thursday night. And every time we have any type of election in the United States, something comes out that starts the culture wars, another battle in the culture war. And that is all this is. This is yet another skirmish in the culture war. They needed to give something to their base who are salivating for the opportunity to attack the wicked and the perverted and the immoral American secular society. They needed to give something to their evangelical base, their pro-life movement, their anti-choice movement, so that they can get stirred up enough to participate in the 2016 election cycle. If they don't give them this red meat, they do not participate. So this entire exercise with regard to Planned Parenthood and the video and the timing of the release, and now the vote that took place on yesterday, just in time for the debates on Thursday, all of it is an exercise in stirring up their base to get them mobilized to go out to vote. That's it. But when you present them with this truth, they recoil and say, oh no, you just believe the mainstream media. Well, Fox News is the mainstream media. The people feeding you these lies, the people who are playing and courting these conspiracy theories, they are the mainstream media. You do not get more mainstream than Fox News. But somehow they feel this is the lunacy, people. Somehow they feel that Fox News, which is the biggest and the most well-funded, the best funded, the highest ratings, and the most trusted, news source in America, they feel that it is an insurgent fight against the man, which is completely analogous to what Donald Trump is to the Republican Party. They feel that this billionaire who never had to work hard a day in his life, who was given everything he had and then flipped it. All right, I give him credit for flipping some of the things that he had. All right, but he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth and has spent the majority of his life as a billionaire. Somehow they feel that he is the insurgent candidate in this election cycle, that he's one of them. And now this is masterful propaganda, folks. Whoever is behind this, they are a genius. If they would just use their skills for their powers for good, right? But the same thing with Fox News. Somehow they feel that this corporate run, Saudi Arabian, Australian finance backed organization, they feel like it's patriotic one, which is completely entirely a different conversation. But they feel like this station with the highest ratings, with the most money, watched in more homes, engages in the most lies, but yet is the most trusted. They feel like this is their insurgent news channel, as if they were as if they were John Connor broadcasting, if you're hearing my voice, you are the resistance. That's what they feel about Fox News. I don't know. I'm completely at a loss of words with regard to how they've twisted this. Actually, maybe I'm not. That's the whole point of today's show, is really looking at how a certain segment of our society will believe the lies no matter what. A certain segment of our society will believe that a billionaire is one of them, even though they are further apart. That I have more in common with the average Fox News viewer than they have in common with Donald Trump. Yet they feel like Donald Trump is one of them, and they feel like Fox News is their insurgent news source, because you have a group of Americans, of human beings, who, no matter what evidence you present to them, they will always believe They will always believe the conspiracy over the facts, and that's the thing with the Planned Parenthood fiasco. There are some standard facts that everyone should know with regard to Planned Parenthood. That 97% of what Planned Parenthood does is not abortion. 3% rather of what they do involves abortions. The primary work of Planned Parenthood has always been to provide health care and health care for women, especially in underserved communities. Now, I've spent quite a bit of time in underserved communities, and I've driven through the communities, and you cannot find a health center. You can't find a health clinic. You have to drive literally 30 minutes to get to a facility that will service you if you live in certain parts of a city. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. And so it makes it difficult for women to get the health care that they need, that in reality, the education and the health care that they would get would actually help avoid abortions. It would help to reduce abortions. But I've come to the realization over the last couple of years that the people in the pro-life movement are not interested in reducing abortions. They are not interested in doing what is necessary to bring down the rate of abortions in the United States of America. They are purely political, and they want to control the sexuality of Americans. This is just another extension of the moral majority control over America. They want to dictate the terms of everyone's sexuality. And they do so by engaging with the group of people in America who would never believe the truth, even if it slapped them in the face. And unfortunately, and I'm saying this unfortunately, one of the common denominators in that are a lot of people who, a lot of religious people. That's, some of the same crazies that you can find in any part of the world. I say it's unfortunately. I know some of my listeners are like, well, no, duh. But for me, it's like, unfortunately, you find some of the craziest people find their way into religion. Let me take this call, and then we're going to take a break. Caller, what is your name? What is your comment and or question?
Morning, Benjamin. It's Adriana out in California. I managed to get up this morning.
Adriana, my goodness, what is it? 5:40 in the morning on the West Coast. How are you? What is your comment and question? Thanks for calling in.
So I wanted to comment that I want Black people to know that lupus, which is a disease that disproportionately affects Black people, is an illness for which fetal tissue research is used. So, when I want to put a woman's voice on this, women do not take the decision to terminate a pregnancy lightly. Mm-hmm. They really, really do not. And it is a good thing that there is a place for this fetal tissue to go to do good for people. Even if the edited version was completely true, I'm still okay with it. Because when you're on that table, and this includes me, I terminated pregnancy. At the time that I did it, this was over 20 years ago, I had no idea that what I was doing could actually benefit someone other than myself, because me being a mom would have been a mistake. If I had known that because in the tape they say that if this is something patients request, I didn't know to request it. I'm glad this information is out there, because now women who made the decision for their own reasons, which are valid, to terminate a pregnancy, know that it can be, what they're doing doesn't have to be completely tragic, doesn't have to be completely, well, this is what has to be done. It can actually be used to assist people who have very, very serious diseases.
You mentioned lupus, which I didn't know that it was connected to that type of research benefited lupus, but I did know how disproportionately lupus affects the Black community. I have many friends, female friends who have suffered from that. What other major sicknesses has fetal tissue been used in research for, that you can think of?
Autoimmune diseases. So lupus is an autoimmune disease. Mm-hmm. MS is an autoimmune disease. Those are the two that come off the top. Crohn's disease, I think, is an autoimmune disease. Autoimmune diseases.
And so you go ahead.
And then the other point I wanted to make is I just wanted to give you support in what you just said about the culture wars, but I want to put a twist on it, which is this means we're winning because the Supreme Court only just approved gay marriage. And I would have figured they would have beat that over the head from now all the way until Election Day. And the fact that they chose to pivot and make a stink about a woman's right to choose means that they know there aren't any legs, not enough legs in the gay marriage debate to beat that drum all the way to 2016.
Okay,
so
all the way. Okay,
they're making headway.
Yeah, all the way to 2016. I think the culture war with regard to gay marriage, I think that's coming back. But you're right. I don't think it can last all the way from now to 2016. And so all they have left, you're right. That's a great analysis there. Really, all they have left now is the culture war with regard to abortions. I think that's a great analysis. But unfortunately, I do believe that the gay marriage debate that's coming around the corner, and that will just come a little bit closer. And I bet you that particular debate is going to be targeted to the Black community because of our religious, the religious stronghold in the Black community. Adriana, thank you for getting up over there on the West Coast, and anybody else listening on the West Coast got live. Man, thank you guys. That's some dedication. Thanks, Adriana.
You're welcome.
All right, folks, I'm going to take a quick break. When I come back, I want to deal with Republican Party and the Iran nuke deal and these fatalists, these people who just see no other option but war. 857-600-0518.
You're tuned in to the Benjamin Dixon Show. Join the conversation. 857-600-0518.
Looking for the right business opportunity? Need the right product, the right marketing plan, and the absolute best training in the world? Well, look no further. The Elite Team. Every leader in time excels. They believe the key ingredients in becoming successful in life and in business are just a keystroke away. Go to www.eliteteamsite.com. That's www.eliteteamsite.com. The Elite Team has a system in place that will move you closer to achieving your goals and dreams. Visit www.eliteteamsite.com or TonyFlemingEnterprises.com today.
College is important, but it can also be expensive. College Planning Services is a group of educators, administrators, counselors, and other licensed professionals that work together to provide the necessary services, networks, and information to reach students that are serious about getting a college education. College Planning Services partners with financial institutions, corporate sponsors, and other major players in the global market to strategize in building a pool of information regarding financial aid, scholarships, and funding information to assist students in preparing to access the essential resources to build upon their path to an educational future. Learn more at collegeplanningtoday.com and let us help you start your college career.
Do you want to take your business to the next level? Ultimate Business Solutions provides the support you need to increase your customer base and sell more products and services online. Specializing in graphic arts, web development, and internet marketing, Ultimate Business Solutions creates the face of your business. If you're looking for a custom logo, dynamic website, or popping marketing material, call Ultimate Business Solutions today at 404-704-2197 or visit www.ultimatebizsolutions.com. Ultimate Business Solutions. Let us create your future.
Do you have tax issues, owe back taxes, or need tax relief? Contact L&B Tax Service today. L&B offers you over 15 years of expertise and first-class tax service for individuals, professionals, and business owners. With nationwide service, you can easily find a location near you. Contact one of our tax professionals through our website, lbtaxservice.com. That's www.lbtaxservice.com. L&B Tax Service Incorporated. Tax professionals that you can trust.
You've tuned in to the Benjamin Dixon Show.
All right. Welcome back. Yeah. So two things. My producer sent me a message during the break wondering if my audience would know who John Connor is. I just kind of made that assumption that you guys would understand the reference to John Connor from Terminator, the entire Terminator series. But if you don't, Connor, whatever, leader of the Resistance. He had a radio broadcast saying, if you're hearing my voice, you are the resistance. And that's what these conservatives really think Fox News is some type of resistance, some type of insurgent programming, when in fact it is the machine. Fox News is Skynet. They are the machine. They are the ultimate propaganda. They are the 1984 machine. That's who they are. The other thing is, you know what? I don't know if my wife is listening, but I'm about to play a clip from my girl, from the woman, not a girl, the fabulous. My caller Adriana told me that we should have a female voice on this issue, and absolutely so. And I actually have several clips queued up. But I am in love. I am in love with another woman, and here she is, and she's speaking on this debate.
I come to the Senate floor today to ask my Republican colleagues a question. Do you have any idea what year it is? Did you fall down, hit your head, and think you woke up in the 1950s or the 1890s? Should we call for a doctor? Because I simply cannot believe that in the year 2015, the United States Senate would be spending its time trying to defund women's health care centers. You know, on second thought, maybe I shouldn't be that surprised. The Republicans have had a plan for years to strip away women's rights to make choices over our own bodies. Just look at the recent facts. In 2013, Republicans threatened to shut down the government unless they could change the law to let employers deny women access to birth control. In March of this year, Republicans held up a non-controversial bipartisan bill to stop human trafficking. Why? Because they demanded new anti-abortion restrictions to cover private funding meant to help the victims of human trafficking. In June, House Republicans passed a budget eliminating funding for the Title X Family Planning Program, the only federal grant program that provides birth control, HIV tests, STD screening, and other preventive services for poor and uninsured people. Over the past few years, Republicans have voted to repeal the Affordable Care Act more than 50 times, including the portions that require insurers to cover contraception. And let's be clear, it's not just Congress. Over the past 5 years, Republican state legislators have passed nearly 300 new restrictions on abortion access. This year alone, Republican state legislators have passed more than 50 new restrictions on women's access to legal health care. So, Mr. President, Madam President, let's be really clear about something. The Republican scheme to defund Planned Parenthood is not some sort of surprised response to a highly edited video. Nope, the Republican vote to defund Planned Parenthood is just one more piece of a deliberate, methodical, orchestrated right-wing attack on women's rights.
I absolutely am in love. Oh, goodness. Listen, I'm sorry, just on a personal note. I mean, this is why I married my wife. I love a strong leader of a woman who does not pull any punches, who is fearless. Elizabeth Warren is not scared of anyone. She's not scared of Wall Street. She's not scared of Republicans. She's not scared of the pro-life movement. I absolutely I have a political crush on Elizabeth Warren. Breaks my heart that she's not in this campaign, but maybe she'll be someone's vice presidential nominee. But I think it's important to let people who Planned Parenthood, and there's this guy, what's his name, James Langford, a Republican out of Oklahoma, who said that the abortion conversation is a men's issue because it's a family issue. No. It is. Families do make those decisions together, but we're talking about the privacy and the rights of a woman over her body. So even though, you may have that conversation with your wife, you may have that conversation with the person that you love, the ultimate decision is that woman's decision. And so in conversations like this, thank you, Adriana, for calling in to put a female voice on it. And I had this clip queued up for Elizabeth Warren, who I just love Elizabeth Warren. That is, I don't know. If I was just a little bit older and wasn't already married to the most wonderful woman in the world, but I digress. So last but not least, and I don't have much time, but I want to deal with the lingering vestiges of this Iran nuke deal debate. And I want to deal with it because of the ability of the Republican Party and conservatives to never come to the table with a viable alternative. They are constantly defaming, deriding, and trying to derail, if I can be alliterative, derail everything that President Obama does. Not because they have a better idea, just because they say, well, that's bad. You know, growing up, my parents always taught me, if you're not bringing a suggestion, then don't criticize. But that's just something that the Republican parties just they don't deal with. They don't understand. They have nothing to offer with regard to the Iranian nuke deal. They have nothing to offer with regard to the Affordable Care Act, but they will do everything in their power to derail it. Not because something doesn't need to be done, not because they have something better, but because they have a vested interest in trying to deny President Obama any victory, even to the extent of taking us into another war. They are willing to take us into another war with Iran simply to derail a success of President Obama. That is treasonous, in my opinion. That is, and I don't throw that word around lightly. I think that is you are undercutting the foreign policy and the national security of the United States of America for politics. If they had a viable alternative to the Iranian nuke deal, they would bring it to the table. But they have not, because they do not. Because there is not a better solution right now than what we have on the table. When you're negotiating with someone who has autonomy, you do not get everything that you want, but we have everything that we need to ensure that at least for the next 25 years, Iran will not get a nuclear weapon. And the goal and the hope, the spirit of the contract, which they're really not talking a lot about, and I wish they would, because it would help us to engage in a more mature conversation. But, you know, maybe that's just naivete. We're not ready for maturity in the United States of America. But the hope is that over the next 15 to 25 years, that Iran will become a better world citizen. Because inside of Iran, there are enough people who want to make money. Let's just get to the bottom line of it. There's the ideology. You have two ideologies in international relations. You have neoliberalism and you have realism and neorealism. And neoliberalism basically asserts that we can work together in the international community because we have the potential of making mutual gains. We can all benefit. We can engage in commerce. We can make money. And that's the core neoliberalism. That is the spirit of the TPP. That's what President Obama is asserting with the TPP. I don't know if I agree with them on the TPP with this regard, but his spirit behind it says that the more we engage in commerce with nations, the less likely we are going to go to war with them. That the future of our world civilization is in commerce and not in war. The alternate theory is that the nature of our society is simply war. And the way that we are going to engage in the international community is conflict. Now, I'm not going to credit the Republicans with being politically astute enough and intellectually astute enough to realize that they are neo-realist, not the curmudgeons that are at the bottom of the barrel, right? But I will say that if you view the world through the eyes of realism, of neo-realism, then you're going to say that eventually we're going to come to odds with Iran no matter what. The alternate is, if we bring them into the international community and we take the sanctions off and we inspect and we check and we verify and make sure that they are not breaking their end of the bargain, then that gives us time to incorporate them into the international community such that they have a vested interest in maintaining the stability that we currently have. Now, what I just said probably went over the heads of 99% of Republicans, but it just simply put, either we are going to engage civilly in an international community that has a mutual interest in stability, or we're going to constantly be at war. And the hardliners, the chicken hawks in the United States of America, the conservative party, the Republican Party rather, the conservative ideology, all they understand and all they know and all they want is war. They are perfectly in line with Benjamin Netanyahu and his hardliners in Israel, who all they want and all they see is the possibility of war. They don't believe, that Iran should be given the opportunity to become a part of this broader, this international community of cooperation. They don't want to give Iran that opportunity. And I'm going to tell you the truth. Either we give them that opportunity or we just go to war. There's nothing else. So when you ask a Republican, what is your alternative to President Obama's plan? They don't have one other than war. But realize war is how we got into this mess in the first place. Iraq was our only buffer to the power of Iran. Iraq would have Saddam Hussein, as evil as he was, as much of a bastard dictator that he was our check and balance in the Middle East with regard to Iran. But cowboy George Bush, wanting to make a name for himself, I don't know, and maybe he didn't just want to make a name for himself. Maybe he just didn't know how to tell Dick Cheney to go sit the hell down. Because Dick Cheney wasn't worried about making a name. Dick Cheney was worried about making billions of dollars with Halliburton. And so he could not put Dick Cheney in place, or he wanted to make a name for himself, whatever the reason, because there wasn't weapons of mass destruction. Whatever the reason, we destabilized the Middle East. We created ISIS, or we allowed ISIS to run amok because there was no great power, no major power in the region that could clamp down on ISIS and that could buffer and block Iran from pursuing their nuclear goals. We created the mess. And now President Obama is trying to fix the mess. And we have a valid treaty that it was not a treaty yet until they ratify it, right? They have to pass it. But we have a valid agreement that could bring Iran out from the edges of society and bring them into the fold of the international community. But you have so many of hardliners who don't want to give that opportunity to this nation. They don't have a viable alternative. And so the only other choice is to go to war with Iran. I'm going to play a quick clip and then I'm going to get out of here. This is a clip of one of the idiots and yeah, whatever. One of the most insane people. This is what happens when you play with crazy. When you play with crazy, you can't go halfway with crazy. You have to go the full distance with crazy. This is Alan West. He was a congressman. He was a congressman from Florida. I know him. I know his platform very well. I actually had a chance to debate with him very briefly when he came to our university. But this is Alan West talking about the Iranian nuke deal. And I want you to listen.
Congressmember Alan West. How y'all doing in Times Square? Hey, look at here. I'm not one of these highly educated, easily speaking, kind of intellectual guys. I'm a U.S. Army combat paratrooper. And this is what I want to say. This is the simple message that we should be sending to Iran. When Iran stands up and they chant death to America, all we need to say is, you first. What message are we sending? What message are we sending when we sit down at the table with the #1 state sponsor of terrorism? What message are we sending when we sit down with a country that is holding 4 Americans hostage? No different from the last time we had a weakling in the White House when we had 53 Americans being held hostage. What message do we send when we create this false narrative about either we sign this piece of paper that just the same meant nothing to Adolf Hitler, it means nothing to the Ayatollahs, or The only other alternative is to go to war. Well, let me tell you something. The United States of America is about victors. The United States of America is about champions. The United States of America does not surrender to a bunch of black robe, crazed clerics that want to see us destroyed.
Well, actually, Alan West, we do. We have. You know, when he said the black robe clerics who want to destroy America, the first people that came to mind were John Hagee and all the evangelical pastors who wear black robes. You know, we do give way to crazies, and Alan West is one of those crazies. And it is a matter, it's not a false narrative. It is either we are going to make this deal or else we are going to leave Iran free to do what they're currently doing, which gives them access to a nuclear weapon in the next 2 to 4 months. If we don't make a deal with them to get inspectors in there and to delay and to stop their program, then they have the ability right now to create a weapon in the next 2 to 4 months, which means we go to war. We have allowed a segment of the Republican Party to come to foment to the top where reason and rationale, and what he said at the beginning, I wanted to pause it, but at the very beginning, he said, I'm not one of those intellectual, well-spoken guys. I'm just an ordinary Joe. This is what they play to. They play to the idea that intelligence is a bad thing. Remember Herman Cain in 2012, he said, America wants a leader, not a reader. And people went crazy and gave him applause. You know, that's because the Republican Party has consistently played to the lowest common denominator in their base. And you could see that vein of ignorance flowing through not only our domestic politics, but flowing through our international relations, our foreign relations. We see it flowing through not only local politics, but we see it ebbing, and we see it, actually, it's not ebbing, it's flowing. We see it fomenting to the top of our national politics. This is what happens when you let the crazies out and you use them to try to maintain your hold on power. These are the death pangs of conservatism, and which really blows me away that people can't see that conservatism is a dying ideology. And in their dying stages, they get louder, they get angrier, they get more bitter, they get more bombastic. But the fact of the matter is, it is dying. And in these dying stages, this is how you get conspiracy theories to be prevalent, to be mainstream. This is how you get candidates like Donald Trump. This is how you get people to think that Donald Trump is one of them, when Donald Trump would no more sit down and have a beer with them than he would sit down and have a beer with Hitler, right? Donald Trump does not see them, as one of his own, yet in reverse, they see him as one of his own. They see him as one of their own. And yet we don't realize the advantage that we have as progressives, because we have the stronger, the more intellectually informed, the more economically and statistically sound ideology. We have it, yet we're running from it. We're scared, we're timid, we're afraid to support. We're afraid to support somebody like Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders, who clearly has a better economic plan for the United States than even Barack Obama has. But we're timid in our voices and in our voicing of our ideologies because we have allowed them to chump us for so long. And we're fearful. We're fearful of being called socialist. We're fearful of being called communist from a bunch of people who don't even know what those words actually mean. I can't blame conservatism completely on this. I can't blame conservatism on the idiots like Alan West and Donald Trump. You know, it is partly our fault. And it's time for us to change this. It's time for us to stop kowtowing in fear of a ghost, because that's what conservatism is. It is a dying ideology that has nothing but the good old days to hang on to, and they're hanging on to it through fear. They're hanging on to it through conspiracy theories. They're hanging on to it through thinly veiled racism. It's not even veiled. It's just thinly veiled racism at this point. And this is all they have. We are winning in the culture wars. So now it's time for us to take the fight to them in every other area, unashamedly, uninhibitedly, and without any fear and without any hesitation. Folks, I'm going to call it a day right there, because I'm our 10 minutes over time. It's been real. Listen, before I go, make sure you go to thebenjamindixonshow.com or go to facebook.com/The Benjamin Dixon Show and click on the Contact Us tab. And I want you to register for a chance to win a copy of my book, God is Not a Republican. I will be announcing the first winner on Friday, and I will be giving out a book every week going forward until I write something else or get some other material. Follow us on Twitter at The BPD Show. If you're watching via YouTube, I want you to subscribe, and then I want you to go over to Spreaker and subscribe to our radio podcast internet show. Spreaker, folks who are listening live on Spreaker, we are doing great over there. I mean, we've had like 400 new people sign up in the last week, so it's the last 2 weeks. It's been great, but we want you to come over to YouTube and subscribe. We want all of you to go and meet us on Facebook and like our page. Make sure that you stay connected with us. If you like our show, my producer is buzzing me. I guarantee you he's going to tell me to say something about Patreon. Yes. And all that stuff. Okay, so folks, that's it. I'm out of here. You guys have a great day. I will see you after the debates because I'm sure we're going to have a lot to talk about. This is the Benjamin Dixon Show.
And until that moment comes, when we, the Americans, are able to accept the fact that on that continent we are trying to forge a new identity for which we need each other, that I am not a ward of America. I am one of the people who built the country. Until this moment.
And we are brothers. It's not a question of Jews or Christians or Muslims. We're all in the same boat.
We need each other.
Love is a condition so powerful. It may be that which holds the stars in the firmament.
Until this moment.
Love.
Until this moment.
Love.
Until this moment.
I come to you today to say that we can build a newer and better nation. I say we can do so, that we must do so, and that we will do so.
You've tuned in to The Benjamin Dixon Show. Visit us online at www.thebenjamindixonshow.com.
Hey, folks on YouTube, apparently I missed several calls and have several messages. So what I want you to do, if you want to, if you don't want to talk, are we back? Okay, we're back. I lost my signal for a second there. Let's see. Are we stabilized? Are we live? If we're live, you can hear me. If not, oh, well, I'll just say it anyway. Call in 857-600-0518 and you can leave a message and then we will play your message on the air. It could be a good message. It could be a bad message, whatever. It could be, you know, on any topic and we'll find a way to fit it into our show. Thank you guys for participating and we will see you next time.